In 2003, while the construction crews were preparing for the North Simcoe Sports and Rec Complex, the backhoe operator, Gilles Charlebois, inadvertently came across what we refer to as a Huron ossuary. Now, a Huron ossuary, we need a little bit of preparation historically for you to understand what an ossuary is, but of course the Huron people lived in this area. They constructed villages. Well, every time a village moved, at the end of the life of a village, the inhabitants would gather up all of the deceased individuals related to that village, and they would bury them communally. Now, this was a very important rite because the Huron believed that as a community in life, so should you be a community in death. And so there was a 9-day called Festival or Feast of the Kettles, and the kettles were basically a series of feasts in which they celebrated the lives and the life of that village, and then celebrated the life of the new village, usually 3 or 4 miles away. So ossuaries then consisted of something in the neighborhood of 2 to 1,000 burials. The Huron would bring the burials if someone had died, let's say within a month or so. The body would be brought intact to the burial and usually placed toward the bottom. Men tended to go at the bottom, women tended to go above, and children on top. And so the number of deceased would then be carefully placed into the ossuary, a very large 8-foot, 8 diameter by say 8 foot deep hole that was dug out and lined with beaver pelts, and then the bodies would be put in, and sometimes they were mixed so that individuals would be mixed together, as in most societies are mixed with combinations of men, women, and children. And then once the ceremony had been completed, they would be covered over usually with boulders and a little building, and then the village would then move to its newer location, and that would complete the life cycle of that particular village. So we have about 1,000 Huron villages in North Simcoe. We've only found about 200 ossuaries. So needless to say, when this construction crew was here, we had no idea that they would find an ossuary 75 feet from the museum. But I had come out and told the backhoe operator, Gilles, be careful, because in 1889 we found a very small ossuary of 12 people, and somewhere within the 120 acres of the Midland Driving Park there might be more material related to an ossuary. Well, for the first 4 days everything went well, and then where Gilles thought he was digging out a tree and digging through tree roots, he unwittingly and mistakenly plowed into this ossuary. So I was able to stop all of the construction immediately. We then gathered the bones, and over the course of the summer we excavated over 42 dump truck loads of sand that contained human remains. And later in the fall, to the back of the area of the ossuary, all of the bones were reinterred. So this ossuary does remain intact. It probably relates to a period well before the arrival of the Europeans, as no grave goods of any kind were recovered during the recovery of the bones. So that suggests to us that this was probably an ossuary dating to around maybe 1350, 1400 AD. We do have a number of villages fairly close to this area on the other side of Little Lake, and so it's likely one of those villages that practiced their ossuary burial here. The ground in this area, throughout this area, is very sandy, very, very nice sandy loam, so probably relatively easy to dig. And now this area, of course, has considerable spiritual and religious importance. because the Ouendat feel that they're responsible for the care and maintenance of their ancestors. So the town of Midland, along with the Huron and an archaeological firm, redid this ossuary area to make it a very attractive place to visit and to communicate with the spirit world.